Now, for more on this, we're being joined by Professor Binoy Hadashatran, who is an East Asian geopolitics and security analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast.
Thank you very much.
My first question to you. Now, North Korea claims to have tested this nuclear-capable underwater attack drone, one that's capable of generating a radioactive tsunami. Now, to begin with, could you just walk us through the technicalities here and the science of nuclear wave making?
Well, what happens when you have a tool or a weapon like this is that it's much easier for North Korea to conduct stealth attacks, because if you are to, for example, launch a missile which would have a nuclear warhead, it's a lot easier for radars to pick up the incoming threat. When it comes to a situation like an underwater unmanned drone, it makes it a lot easier for North Korea to attack in a way that is much more difficult to predict for its enemies like the United States or Japan, for example. And if you are going to detonate a large-scale explosion underwater, the kind of damage would be significant to the surrounding area. And indeed, because of the sheer strength of that kind of explosion, it could indeed create a kind of a tsunami, which they call a radioactive tsunami. One thing I should add about this is, even though they are claiming to have done this, we have not seen any footage about this. There have not been any kind of evidence at this point. So while it may be true that North Korea has developed this, we still have to keep a measure of skepticism in the face of this claim.
Absolutely. Now, that being said, a nuclear weapon detonated below the ocean surface can cause great devastation. Let's just talk about that for a second. With this latest announcement, what do you assess? What is your assessment of the threat here? How do you assess the risk of radioactive fallout?
Well, in the case of this kind of threat, it simply adds to a number of layers of threats that is coming from North Korea. As we know, North Korea has been developing nuclear weapons since the 1980s. They conducted their first nuclear test in 2006. They have now conducted 6 nuclear tests. On top of that, they have been developing a vast array of different nuclear or different ballistic missiles from different ranges, ranging from short range ballistic missiles to intercontinental ballistic missiles that could reach the United States. So this announcement, again, if it does turn out to be true, is simply an added threat to what constitutes already a big problem for the countries of this region. And indeed, if they were to use that, if they were to use this weapon, the kind of radioactive fallout, the kind of radioactive effects could linger for a very long time in the, in the oceans, if that were to be true.
Right, absolutely. Now, Pyongyang has increased its military testing significantly, and this comes as the United States and South Korea completed their largest joint military drills, as I mentioned earlier. Do you see this as an escalation? How do you see the situation panning out?
Well, in the case of those military exercises, it needs to be put in context. It is true that the current South Korea-U.S. Military exercises are the largest military exercises they have conducted since 2017. However, they are regular. They are a part of a regular schedule of exercises. They are conducted a few times a year. So this is absolutely not a new thing. In the case of South Korea and the United States, it's important for them to maintain their deterrence posture, to make sure to send a message to North Korea that they are ready in the case of a provocation or in the case of a potential conflict with North Korea. The fact that North Korea is conducting this test at the time of these exercises is obviously a message that is being sent to both the United States and South Korea that they are that they are exasperated, that they don't like these kinds of exercises. They're trying to put pressure on the United States to ramp down these sorts of military drills.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast with your insights on this.
Thank you very much.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.